Okay. What I want to do is give you a brief presentation on our warning systems. How many of you in the last storm got all of the warnings that you should have or that came out? In other words, how many of you were sufficiently warned? Okay.
Well, I got the Dixel. I didn't get the, I got a Dixel.
Okay. Let me give you a little background on that storm. It was, from an emergency management perspective, a perfect storm in that if it could go wrong, it did go wrong. I was in Livingston, Texas. I was attending training. I know I'm kind of old and don't have a whole lot of hair here, but I do still believe in training. I'm a firm believer in it, and in order for me to do the job that you hired me to do, I need training. So I was off in Livingston, Texas. The storm hit. And when I saw it was going to hit, I called the weather service and talked to Dr. Lyons. And I asked him what's going on. And he said, we are getting slammed. And we've got tornadic winds, large hail. We've got a lot of extremely strong straight line winds. He said, as a matter of fact, at this minute, there are straight line winds approaching Great Creek at 97 miles an hour. Anyway, things went downhill from there. I was on the phone late into the evening and back in early in the morning contacting city leadership and the electric companies and getting everybody lined out on what we needed to do. Make a long story short, when I got home, what I found out was the telephone line for the weather service to the TV stations had gone down earlier that afternoon. It was not operable. Okay, the weather service has redundancy. Right prior to the storm, the server system that connects all of the weather services, not only here in Texas, but with the nation, went down. The one that serves San Angelo went down, which left our weather service with no way to contact their backup in Midland, and no way from Midland to see the San Angelo radar. So the guys were sitting out at the weather service, taking pictures with their cell phones of what they were seeing on their radars and emailing those to Midland so that Midland could then get the information to the radio stations and TV stations here. Then the TV stations went off the air. So, and when the sirens went off, several of them were affected by electricity and did not go off. I tell you all of this because if we rely on one system, one method of warning, you may not get the warning. You may not get the information you need to know. One of the things that we do in emergency management, as much as is possible, is build in backup and build in redundancy. We basically have three, I guess you'd say, three levels of warnings. Can somebody tell me what those sirens mean?
Imminent danger.
All right, one person says they just mean we're in danger.
Imminent danger.
Imminent danger.
Possible tornado, possible hail,
Shelter.
possible winds, weather.
Okay. Are they designed to be heard indoors?
I heard mine,
I can hear it.
and I'm underground.
Okay. The sirens are exactly what you said. They are to let people who can hear them know that something's fixing to happen that could very well impact them. So you need to go to another method to find out what it is that's going to impact you. Those sirens are also outdoor warnings. They are not designed to be heard indoors if you're very far from them. They're there to warn people that are outdoors. A lot of people think you're supposed to be able to hear them inside, but the reality of it is if you're more than a couple of blocks away from that siren, even on a good day, you may not hear it if you're indoors. Then you add the noise of the storm to it, and you may never ever hear it. And if you're like me, and a sound sleeper, you'll sleep through them. There have been several occasions when my wife would wake me up and said, "Steve, can you not hear those sirens?" Come on, all man. So, don't rely on the sirens as your one source of information. The next level is the all hazards radio. We used to call them the weather radio, but the attitudes, ideas, and training have now shifted to all hazards. We prepare for all hazards. We prepare for the worst of the worst, because if we can handle the worst of the worst, we can take whatever else comes along. I get criticized for that in a lot of the training that we do, that, man, you're shooting at the worst of the worst. Yeah, I am, because we need to find out exactly what we can handle. But if we can handle the worst of the worst, we can also handle anything else that comes along. So part of the all hazards concept is the all hazards radio. If you have one of those battery operated all hazard radios, it's not going to make any difference, or one of the hand crank ones.
When I got
You won't have to worry that the sirens aren't going off. You will get the message if that landline is going through to the stations. But there again, there's the fallacy there. If that landline from the weather service goes down, and that all hazard radio is not going to do you any good. Then you have the TV and radio stations. Another source to find out what the specific hazard is. Tune into those. When you hear the warning, tune into those to find out what the specific hazard is. But if your radio station goes off the air, if your TV station goes off the air, what are you left with? How many of y'all have any other method of notification?
Okay.
One person. How many of you have the Nexel program on your cell phone? Okay. Let me tell you, folks, you need to get it. That was the only source of warning that worked in this last storm. You will get those warnings. Those warnings will come out not only from the weather service, they will come out from either myself or Emmett, who is my assistant, or they will come out from the police department or the sheriff's office, or all of us. But if you have that application on your phone, and it does not cost anything, it's a free app. The way to get it is just, and you can do this on your computer at home. You don't have to do it on your phone. Go to Nixle.com. That's NIXLE.com. And then you can tailor what you receive once you get into the website. You can receive either just for your zip code, you can receive all warnings, or you can pare down what warnings you get. You will get those. So we have several methods available to us, and we need to avail ourselves to all of those.
Steve, I got a question.
Go ahead.
In this antiquated system you're talking about that the taxpayers has funded, I imagine, does it come from the county, the city, or the state, or all above?
Which system are you talking about?
I'm not sure which, I guess all three systems.
The problem is not all because it's antiquated. The antiquated system is the sirens. The sirens were initially put up back in the late 60s and early 70s using 60s and 70s technology. They've been updated as much as they can. However, they have no backup electrical source. So if that particular siren loses electricity, they're not going to work. The cost to update, to get that backup electricity, would be cost prohibitive. The city has borne the cost for all of those sirens up to this point. There's been some discussion with Commissioner Bacon about adding some more around, but now the thought is changing. because that is old technology. As far as the landlines, that is an issue the Weather Service is looking at and trying to deal with. But there are some things that if we rely on electricity, they're going to be impacted. If we rely on technology, we all know computers are great as long as they're working, but when they don't work, we're in a bind of technology in general. So I would encourage you to build in your backup in your warning systems as much as you possibly can. The other part of emergency preparedness, and Becky, you're not allowed to answer this question, and neither are you, Commissioner Bacon. Can someone in this room tell me what my job is as emergency management coordinator?
You coordinate emergencies.
Okay, coordinate emergencies. That's a little bit of it.
Coordinate the resources that we have, like the fire.
Coordinate the resources. Let me tell you what my real job is, because once the disaster hits, I had better have already done my job. My real job is to educate. Disaster preparedness is an individual thing. You as an individual need to be sure that you, number one, can take care of yourself, number two, take care of your family, and then take care of your neighbors. Now, I can guarantee you, the police officers, the firefighters, the paramedics, we've got some of the finest in the state, bar none. And believe me, I meet with a lot of people from across the state, and the nightmare stories I hear from other places are unbelievable. We've got some of the best in the state. They're going to do their job. They do it on a daily basis. They know what to do, literally, from the minute it hits. The problems in emergency management come beyond that. The problems in emergency management come from the people who are sitting at home and saying, you're responsible to save me, even though I haven't done anything to prepare. Let me just give you one little example of this last storm. For 2 days and more, we were deluged out at the EOC with phone calls from people wanting to know why the siren weren't working, why this, why that, why the other. I got a phone call from a lady, and she said, why don't y'all have places for people who live in mobile homes to go? I said, well, there's a couple of reasons. Number one is the logistics of it, of setting those places up, and getting them identified and then snapping them is extremely difficult. I said, but the other side of that coin, which may not make you happy to hear and may make you mad at me, is that it's ultimately your responsibility to identify a place that you can go that is safe in the event that a storm hits. Whether it be friends or family or a pre-identified place of business that's safe to go to, wherever it is, it's your responsibility to identify that. Don't wait until that warning goes off to start scrambling to get there, knowing you have to go from your mobile home to another place. You need to watch the weather and monitor it. Get to that place before that warning ever goes off. One other story that I got from the dispatcher that I think y'all will really enjoy this. One of the dispatchers down at the communications center was telling me that they received a call down there when the sirens were going off. Tornado warning had not been issued, but the sirens were going off. And she called dispatch and she said, look, I'm standing out here in my front yard. I live in the southwest part of town. I'm standing out here in my front yard And there is a tornado on the ground about a block from me, and I'm sitting here looking at it. And if you don't believe me that there's a tornado out here, I want one of your police officers to come out here and look at it. That's one of those moments when you want to say, lady, what part of get the shelter do you not understand? There's one other issue I want to address with you, because this can be a source of danger to you if you don't know what you're doing. There are a lot of weather apps out there and a lot of radar apps out there. And we have a lot of people who think they are weather forecasters, and they're just by looking at that app on their cell phone, that they can tell whether or not they're safe. A couple of things you need to understand about those radar apps. They are a fairly good general guide, but don't trust them. Don't put your life on them. The information that comes on those is generally 8 to 10 to 12 to 15 minutes old. And a storm does an awful lot of moving in that amount of time. So what you're seeing actually has already happened and is now history. The other thing you need to understand is what you're seeing is at a 15, 20, and above 1,000-foot level. It doesn't tell you what's happening on the ground. And it's what's happening on the ground that will affect you and that you need to protect yourself from. That's why we have a network of weather spotters that are out there who have direct contact with the Weather Service by way of ham radio to keep the Weather Service informed of what's going on at their location at that particular time. And then the Weather Service people, who are the experts in this, can then interpret what they are getting from the weather spotters, what they are seeing on the radar. And another thing they have out there that we don't have on our apps, they can tell you what the wind direction and wind speed is at ground level. And they can tell you basically up to the minute. And believe me, it is real fascinating to be sitting out there and watching one of these storms come in and watch that windscreen and how it changes and what it's doing out there. The wind is the straight line winds will do more damage than a tornado. A tornado is circular wind over a relatively small area going in a straight line. Your straight line winds are broader. A 90-mile-an-hour wind will do a whole lot of damage. And when it comes through covering a large area, you've got a lot of damage there. So, just kind of to wrap it up, please get that back up on your warning systems. Do not rely on one system. Do not rely on your weather apps. They can lead you astray. Listen to that all hazards radio, watch your TV, listen to your radio. Those are the ones that will tell you the information you need. And then take cover. Because if they say there's a tornado coming, we're all curious. Don't go out there and look for it. I can tell you from first-hand experience, they are beautiful, but they'll kill you. Don't die on me. Don't die on my watch because you didn't do what I asked you to do. I've enjoyed being with you all here today. We're available to take any questions anytime you want. Our phone number out there at the office is 657-4230. Most of the time either I am there or my assistant Emmett Lopez. And if we can't answer the question you've got, we'll find the answer for you. Y'all have a great day.